Welcome to Sprung by Night on RPS2, brought to you by pull&bear, and it's live from Embaixadores Deu. Zosen Bandido is a multidisciplinary artist whose work can be characterized by vivid colors, bold shapes, simplistic figures, and cartoon letters that occasionally adorn his work, which can be literally seen all around the world. Now, full disclosure, I've known Zosen for over a decade. Followed him since my first visits to Barcelona in the early 2000s, but this, in fact, is the first time that we've actually had the chance to sit down and talk about the passions that we have in common, and that's making the streets a different colour and listening to music while we're doing it. So, Zosen, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Is this your first radio interview, or your first, or you must have done a few?
No, it's not the first one.
First in English?
Maybe first in English in Barcelona. Yeah.
Okay. So we got somewhat of a first, anyway.
Yeah, in other countries.
So what I want to do is, I've asked you to bring some records today. That, I mean, obviously, music for you has got to be like really important in your creative process and everything like that. So I've asked you to bring some records down, and each one I hope is going to represent an era of your creative life, or maybe a country that you visited, or even, I don't know, maybe you just like the sleeve because it's inspired you for some in one of your drawings or something like that. So why don't we get straight to it? What's the first record that you've brought and you've chose to play?
I want to start with a classic band, old school from Barcelona. They are one of the pioneers with the breakdance after graffiti, and at the end with the rap music. They are BZN, Barcelona was the name of the group, BZN, and the name of the record is Pleno Efecto, like full effect.
Okay.
And I think most of people from my generation, we grew up with this soundtrack.
And when this record came out, did you buy it when it was new? I mean, is this something that you were aware of? Or was this old school already when you...
This record is from 1989, was recorded in 1989 and was released in 1990s.
Okay.
And I didn't have the money to buy this record at the time. I think most of the people, at the beginning of the 90s, we were like copying the records on tape and passing hand by hand. And this record arrived to me at the beginning of 91 or at the end of 1990s, and on tape.
Hip-hop's massive now in Barcelona and Spain and the world, right? It's kind of mainstream. Everyone knows the big artists now. What was the scene like back then in Barcelona? Was it a really small, like, niche interest?
Before, we used to meet every Sunday. I mean, people involved on the hip-hop movement or just doing graffiti. Every Sunday, we met on the subway station of Universitat, but the station was different than today it is, and was full of graffiti by Golden and another old-school crews. And the breakers and the young writers like me, we were meeting there to go bombing or doing graffiti or just go to a jam, a hip-hop jam. And was really underground. I think at the end of the 80s, we were like 200, maybe 300, but at the beginning of the 90s was a boom. And in all the suburbs like Badalona, Santa Coloma, Cornellà, Hospitalet, a lot of people joined the hip-hop movement and graffiti.
And who got you into it? Did you have like an older brother or someone from school?
In the neighborhood that I grew up in, San Adrián del Besós, that is in the suburbs of Barcelona, we have some pioneers too, like Safe is one of the members of Barcelona Zombies Killers, and Haze from the same crew, also with the Face, Cisco, and Inupié. And they were, I think, they were not directly my mentors, but they were older than me, and they went to London to find records and information before the internet. And also they went to Stalingrad in Paris to see the murals of Bando, the Chrome Angels, Motu, whatever. And they were, I mean, the people with the information and with the, we can say, the knowledge. I mean, they started 5-4 years before me, but they already have some knowledge about the scene around Europe and New York, of course.
All right, let's get a flavour of those early days of hip-hop in Barcelona. Sounding so fresh. It really does. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something like quite naive, a little bit weak. But, obviously that sample, that Fool's Gold by the Stone Roses sample is massive. But I love the way that they manipulated it and cut it up and everything. That was impressive. I'm surprised. I've not heard much from them. I'm sure they're due some sort of revival afterwards. What are they doing now, BZN? Anyone know?
They split after, I don't know why, because this is one of the first records in Spain about the hip-hop rap music. After there was also rap in Madrid. Same time, Jungle Kings, they were brothers from these people. They were from Madrid, from Alcorcón. But I don't know, they split, and 2 or 3 years after, Dread, one of the MCs of BZN, he started like before Sonar, Barcelona Electrónica. At the same time that the people of Advanced Music, they were doing the first meetings with electronic music and stuff. And Bisky, the other guy, Miquel, he started to play house music and electronic music. And in the mid-90s was kind of crisis for hip-hop here until 94, 95, they started new bands. But the people from the old school, they were already, since the 84, with the breakdance, after painting the subway and hip-hop, and they jumped to another scene, I don't know.
So back then, was it pretty common to see graffiti on trains, on like the shutters on the streets?
No, not really. As I said before, the scene was quite small, and we bombed a lot, but with another tools, not like with the sprites of Montana Colors hardcore we have today. We were painting with like 200 milliliters spray cans. We were doing our homemade markers, and I think the shutters, people started to paint shutters when was not able to paint the walls, Before we were painting like tracks and, in the middle of the city, everywhere. And some trains were painted as well, but they weren't running. In 93, 94, they started the commuter trains, the Cercanías, they started to run with pieces. But before was not that common.
What was the reaction at first when people started seeing colors in the street?
Was kind of naive because nobody saw this like a crime or something bad or wrong. We were just kids painting on the walls, and was some sort of creative thing. It wasn't like after, with the zero tolerance law and with a lot of writers coming from everywhere and the city blow up, no? But before was something really easy. We never asked for permission to paint on places. We were just painting, and people were taking food or drinks, or maybe sometimes if we were doing just tags in some places, some neighbor says, "Go to your home to paint," no? But normally nothing doesn't happen.
And it was mostly people from Barcelona. It would be unusual for someone from like a different country to come through.
Yeah, I think this phenomenon arrives 2000s with the spread of the internet everywhere. People knows that here was good weather, good style, colorful style, good culture, and people start to come. But rarely people came. We have always the connection with Paris more than New York, I can say, with Popeye and PCP. Mostly with the people doing, or Honnête, people doing more experimental styles. Here we call it, not Popeye, but Honnête and this generation, when we started to abstract the graffiti, the classic graffiti, estilo basura, like trash style.
When were you using that term?
In 94, 95. I think also X from Helsinki is guilty of this because he started to make the highlights moving and not really straight. I think Scandinavia, they got the flavor from New York, and they went one step forward doing something fresh, I think. And we have more connection with Paris than Scandinavia, but of course Poe and X, when they came here, they came many times. We get some influence also because the graffiti magazines.
I think it's always been a conflict in graffiti, right? I want to do the perfect line with no drips. I want my piece to look like it's been done by a computer, or it's maybe like some sort of adhesive vinyl. Or the other people that kind of celebrate the errors of graffiti. And yeah, you want to do it in a kind of trashy way or naive way or something like that. So even back in the day, that started, right? That
Estilo
conflict.
Basura. Estilo Basura was called. I mean, in Upié, last time he was here, I was interviewing him for the magazine I do. And he said, I was trying to do wild style at the beginning with Face, with Facim and Sutil, but it was hard for me. And at the end, I decided to see like the primitive fresh graffiti from New York, like Blade, Comet, and Dr. Pistol, all these pioneers. And he decided to take this way. And he started to make it more simple and more organic and more fresh.
But graffiti wasn't your first contact with like street culture, right? With a street subculture. That was skateboarding came before that.
Yeah. I started in Buenos Aires, where I born, skating in 88. I was so young, but I was fascinated with the graphics on the boards and also the music. We didn't know anything about rap music in Buenos Aires. The end of the 80s was more rock and roll or punk. And I grew up, listening to punk rock or heavy metal.
And what was life like for kids in Argentina at that time?
I mean, was after the military government and was different, but kind of similar in some ways, like with the beginning of the democracy in Spain in the 80s, that people wanted to have freedom, no, and do their things and to say what they wanted, because before was difficult to make, for example, music with explicit lyrics saying the military government are killing people. Also, people didn't know because we didn't have social media to make tweets or posts to say, okay, some people disappear from my neighborhood, where they are. Changes. I mean, for the millennials, maybe they cannot understand, but was so different.
Do you think it was more extreme in Argentina than in Spain, that also obviously had a dictatorship?
I mean, yeah, here was hard these 40 years, because you can make the comparison with the culture in France, for example. They are an avant-garde if you compare with us. But I think here in Spain, they wanted to make so fast, like the change, okay, now we are a democracy, we are in Europe, we need to have like, I don't know, like this and that. But in Argentina, it's far away, it's in the South America, it's in the another extreme of the world. It's difficult to have this connection like in Europe, that is a continent with the small countries really, one close to the other. In Argentina, it's a huge country and it's so far, and if you don't have the information, you don't know what is going on. And this is the fact, I think, also for the graffiti and the new muralism, we can say, that they take so long to start new styles. If you compare with Sao Paulo, people doing the pichazao in the 80s, or in Santiago de Chile, people like Vasco doing things with latex, was so common, I mean, at the end of the 90s. But in Argentina, they were still painting wild styles with everything with spray.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about politics a little bit. Does politics inform a lot of your musical tastes?
I mean, I grew up listening to rap music, bands like Public Enemy, that is totally politic, because they are involved. They are not saying, okay, smoke us, beef, and whatever. They say, fight the power, no? Yes, I grew up with, I think, with this consciousness of the problems around us, no? Even if, I mean, a lot of people from my generation, maybe some ones they understand the lyrics, others no, but just reading the titles, Prophets of Rage, you can understand, or you can figure it out where they are talking about, no?
Yeah, 911 is a joke. I think every young kid in the whole world has thought that at some point, but changing 911 to whatever the country is that they happen to be in. That might be a good tune to listen to next, actually, one from Public Enemy.
Yeah.
Which album have you brought? It Takes a Nation of Million to Hold Us Back. Is this your favorite Public Enemy album?
This and It Takes a Nation to Hold Us Back.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think it's difficult to decide for one, but yeah, and also the songs here are really good. What's your
well, for me, I mean, Countdown to Armageddon is just so big, especially because it was sampled by Alternate afterwards. Don't Believe a Hype, obviously. But maybe
I mean,
I love Louder Than a Bomb as well. It's so big. Well, I think it'd be really hard to choose because I'm just reading so many hits on this. What about Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos?
But it's so long. I mean, it's so. I prefer Night of the Living Bassheads.
Okay, let's go for that one.
Against Crack.
Against Crack, yeah, absolutely. That's a message we can all support, especially in Barcelona right now. Let's see if we can find the tune. Listen to Sprung on RPS2. We're doing a special Sprung Presents, and we've got Zosen Bandido right here with us. That was, in fact, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos by Public Enemy. It's pretty hard to choose the right tune when you got these albums. They got so many tracks on each side, but it's all good because I actually wanted to listen to that. I found about that. I'm a little bit more new school than you. I found out about that track through Tricky. Tricky did a cover version of it on his debut album.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's mental actually. Yeah, it's hard to recognise the tune, the original, but yeah, it's a banger. It's a banger. So Public Enemy, they were obviously one of the biggest acts that influenced the early Spanish rap scene, let's say. And we were just talking about the productions, right? That it was kind of like punk. In fact, I've heard, I think it was Chuck D mentioned that they wanted to make music that your girlfriend would not like. They wanted to just make this really abrasive music, and they would just like smash all the machines or all the music boxes that they had and sample them and just find little bits that worked. That's actually quite a little bit more of an elegant track than some of the others, but some of the others are really aggressive.
Yeah.
So from there we go to the influence that had on European rap. And this is a big passion that we have in common, and it's Britcore, that a lot of people may not know about.
I don't know why. For example, I was surprised when I listened to the chamber sessions of Liam Howlett, because he used some samples from Hayek, and I was surprised. Oh, he knows this band, because Hayek was so influenced for the people doing hardcore rap also in Spain, was massive, but nobody have the record, we have the tape. And I didn't know that people, like Liam Howlett from The Prodigy, he was interested on.
Well, the album that you've brought, which I think is The Horns of Jericho, that was sampled on the first song of the first Prodigy album, which is called Jericho. Which
the Horns of Jericho,
which for me is a classic. And this tune. Well, what about this? The effect then of UK rap at that time, was this something that was really big all around Europe? Do you think? I mean, were they coming to play at clubs here?
I mean, I don't know if around Europe, but here in Barcelona, we were freaking out with this sound because we never listened something like this before. Like, the production was really like the samplers they were using with guitars and taka 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 was really like before drum and bass. No, they were preparing the dance floor to after, no,
absolutely,
or jungle coming after. Like, for example, at the same time we were listening to Rebel MC. Rebel MC, he did these collaborations with Barrington Levy and Top Cat, or some majors of dancehall from Jamaica. And I think it was the moment that we're melting the sounds, no? Like before, as we said, off the record, like Daddy Freddy and Asher D, they were coming from Jamaica, but they were doing rap, ragamuffin, and this was so fresh for us because nobody was doing this music here in Spain.
Okay, and so let's check out one of these tunes from Hijack. Is the one that you've picked out like a favorite of yours?
Oh, it's difficult one favorite because each one is massive.
How the incredible sounds of Hijack still sounding fresh to me after all these years. Well, I say after all these years. This again was for me was really old school, and actually it's stuff that I've discovered after the fact. Like I've discovered them because of Prodigy, like not the other way around. We were just talking off air. Liam Howlett, a massive influence on you.
I don't know if massive influence, but the first raves we joined in 95 or 96 were organized by English.
Oh, really?
And after they came the people from Tasmania, from France. Yeah, because the technicals, they were hard to do it in France because the security, the police, they were stopping the raves. And a lot of English people, some of them, they came here. I remember Tim, I don't know the surnames, but they started to organize rave parties here, and I remember it was the time of UK rave, like Prodigy.
And these were illegal parties then here, that just as people were doing in the UK, right?
Yeah. It was middle 90s, the end of the 90s was so easy to enter in abandoned factories for paint or to do rave.
And was it the same kids that were going to the hip-hop clubs, that were going to the raves, that were like checking out that early jungle, for instance?
Some of them, yes. But another ones, because we have this rare phenomenon here in Spain during the 90s with the bacalao music. This kind of electronic techno music, but made here, like with producers and some. Different, but the formula they were doing, the Belgian producers, with a girl singing, But when I arrived, we didn't have a Spanish rave here. Producers. And when start to arrive all these tunes, we were surprised too. And the English, I think they were one of the first ones. Before, they weren't like sound systems just dedicated to do techno parties.
And what were you painting at that time then? Were you doing tags, pieces? Did you already start like thinking about doing trains, or were you even thinking outside of traditional graffiti at that time?
The thing is, I think I started to do different things because I was interested in different scenes, not just, with the music I was involved in hip hop, but also hardcore punk, electronic music, reggae, ska, and I really like music, and then was common to me to start to do other things, to have another interest, not just I love and I respect hip-hop, New York, the Mecca, but there are other things, and I think other people, they were like following these invisible rules that, you need to listen to hip-hop music if you are painting graffiti and all these stupid things, because people, the pioneers that I love from New York, they were listening to funk or Black Sabbath or whatever. They weren't like rap bands, in the 70s or early 80s. Then was part of my interest in other styles, and I was developing to start to deconstruct the letters to do other kind of styles.
So that motivated you to take an English, like an interest in learning English, right? Like because these lyrics were available.
Yes, also to travel was because people here in Spain rarely speak English when I was teenager. And because they weren't traveling, but when they started to come people from abroad, or we started to go with doing interrails or painting in another countries, we need a common language, and was not Esperanto, then we speak it English.
Right, okay. So the next tune, the next compilation, this is one I've actually seen around. Your copy looks very well worn. I don't know if that happened under your custody or before. Look at the guy inside. Looked like this middle-aged white guy dressed up in a Bart Simpson t-shirt and some star-spangled shorts. Doesn't look that cool, but in fact, when you check it out, there's a lot of good tunes on this album, on this compilation, should I say. Names jumping out to me like Nomad, Bizarre Inc. I actually like that Rosala, Everybody's Free. That's a bit cheesy, but I love it. There's Moby Go on there, which is just unbelievable. There's KLF. But there's one tune that's a bit more underground, maybe. I think that could be a Belgian one, right? Quadrophenia, The Wave of the Future. The wave has been spelt wrong, but it's all good. On a Spanish compilation called Skateboard 3.
Skateboard, yeah, it was so big at the time. I think they did like till Skateboard 7 or 8. Yeah.
Okay, and it's not particularly hard to find, and well, I think it's a reasonable quality of record as well. So definitely worth picking up if you see it in like a second-hand market or something.
Yeah, you can
like
find
that.
it. Yeah. Okay, we go with Quadrophenia.
Yeah, let's do it. Listen to Sprung on RPS, and we're sitting down going through some excellent records with Zosen, the new muralist, if we can call him that. We can call you all sorts of. That's why it was hard for me to write an intro, because you're a muralist. You edit your own graffiti magazine. Is that not right?
Yeah, Street Spirit.
Right, Street Spirit.
Street Spirit.
Definitely check out Street Spirit on Instagram to get your copy. And an illustrator. You've done plates as well. I've seen some of that.
I like ceramics. I'm toy with the ceramics, but I'm learning. It's really interesting. Another technique is not like painting with brushes. Another thing.
But a lot of the time you're not working alone.
No, yeah. And with the big murals in the last years, I'm collaborating with Mina Hamada, with my partner. She's from Japan, but she's living here for almost 10 years.
Okay. How did that happen? How did you two get together? And did you start working before, or was the romance there already, or how did it go down?
It was the magic. I don't know. It was random. She came to a workshop I was doing for the Picasso Museum for Big Draw in 2011, and other artists came also to join the workshop. And she started to make some gradients with spray and say, "Oh, you know how to do it?" And she say, "No, I don't know." But after she confessed me that she was painting graffiti murals, she was painting with spray with other people in squats and other places in Barcelona.
Was she already a writer in Japan? Did she already develop skills over there?
In Japan, she was doing more paintings, and she was focused on editing books for children books. But when she came because in Japan, the scene is so small and it's dangerous. If they catch you painting graffiti, you can go to jail. Then people, they want to avoid jail, and then they don't expose too much like here in the Latin countries.
When did you decide that you would maybe stop doing so many tags, and you could show your face, and you could be like a proud artist who could go out and do work in the street?
Was in this exact same moment I met Mina, and in the first months, and I have a show in Switzerland 2012, with the social media and everything, I was trying to avoid taking me pictures all the time, and at some point I was thinking, come on, I'm not Banksy, I don't want to sell this image, because at the end, if you want to make something strong, it's your work. I know I don't want to sell my image. I think most of the artists coming from graffiti, they don't want to sell their image. If they want to sell something, they want to sell the artwork. But I understand that if I wanted to continue doing graffiti, I choose another name, another alias, whatever. But Zosen is you can Google and you can see my face in many different countries.
Right. The masks that you used to wear were really charming. I actually think, coming from people like Ramel Z or something like that it makes you a more rounded artist if you've got those things.
Yes, I think the Ramel Z thing is really interesting to me, because he was interested in different sort of things, not just graffiti. He was with the European movements, the Gothic, Surrealist, whatever, and he was mixing, and he was. I think people didn't understand his ideas at the time, because he was not successful as another artist from the 80s, but he was a genius because he developed many styles, even rapping and doing this mixing of cultures that is what interested to me, like the anthropology of our civilization.
So speaking of mixing cultures, what influence have you taken from Mina? From I don't know, from your art, from how you live, how do you eat? I'm sure you're married now, so I'm sure there's been a lot of influence.
Yes, to have more patience and to be more quiet, because Latinos, we get warm so fast, and it's easy to start to speak so loud. And for the Japanese, they don't put up their voice, they are like, it's like a mantra. They are zen. It's the opposite culture. And then we define our collaboration like a yin yang, because one takes like this fire, but the other one takes water, and then we have this balance that I think is what we need in society to respect each other and to love each other, and one word, one love.
Well, big up Mina. It's a shame that Mina's away at the moment, but another time I'd love to get Mina
next time
in the studio so we could talk to her a little bit about her history. We're going to play a tune from Japan next. This is a record from the Yellow Magic Orchestra, absolute pioneers when it comes to electronic music. They were operating around the same time as Kraftwerk, I seem to...
This record is from 1979. It's the second record and it's amazing.
And I've asked for you to put on Technopolis because this is there's an important tune in the history of techno as well. It's an absolute banger, and I think you're going to love it. Turn it up. So that was a little tiny taste of Japan, although Japan forms a massive part of your life.
I don't know if massive, but it's a part of my life.
It's at least half. It's at least half of your life.
Half.
And you've been quite a lot of times, right?
Together with Mina?
In your life, you visited Japan quite a few times.
Yeah. I try every year, but sometimes it's hard because of our schedule. But Mina, for sure, she's going every year to see the family.
And I follow you on Instagram, as a lot of people do. You're traveling all the time. Is it necessary, or is that just like purely because you want to go out and see the world and interact with new cultures and spread your art around the place, as a lot of graffiti people or people with graffiti backgrounds want to do? Is it really necessary for you to do all that traveling?
Yes. I think it's necessary, not just only for me, for everyone to learn another cultures, to be more respectful with the foreigners. I mean, the foreigners that come here to work, to live, to make their own life. I'm an immigrant too. I arrived here almost 30 years ago, and I understand this thing of moving, and I think it's important to open your eyes to the world. Yes. And
your work as an artist?
What is an artist?
I don't know. I mean, you get paid from your work, which I think is incredible.
Yes, but it takes so long to get paid.
Right.
I started doing. I mean, I wasn't expecting to get money for painting graffiti, but doing another kind of project like social projects and getting involved with the community and this stuff is almost 20 years or 19 years at this time, and we were involved with demonstrations against war, against the G8, many things in Barcelona. I think it's part of the DNA of Barcelona to be a rebel and to be involved with the community and things. And then I mixed my interest with the social problems, with my art and my art practice. But yeah, I'm a freelance. Every month is a new adventure.
Are you an outsider? I mean, are you part of the art world?
This will be, I think, another program, because nowadays I'm seeing that a lot of fellas coming from graffiti, they still painting, maybe not doing graffiti, but painting on walls on the streets. And in some point they change their names, their nicknames. We have our names, like alter egos, and now they use their regular names that your parents put it. And I think, why why you need to be accepted by the institutional art, or you need to be accepted by society? I don't know. I have this question the last months, because many people they are changing their names. I don't know why. If you are making your career, me it's almost, as I say, 28 years doing things with this name Zosen. Why to change by my name and surname? Nobody knows me by my name and surname.
Well, Elton John's real name is not Elton John. Freddie Mercury is not Freddie Mercury. So, yeah, I mean, maybe if your tag is like super cool 22, it's a little bit weird when you introduce yourself to people. But something like Zosen, which could almost be a name, maybe it's not necessary to change. So, who are your big influences? Contemporary artistic influences right now, people who are doing muralism that you would recommend people check out.
The big influence, I don't want to say like big names because it's really hard. I think children and life is my biggest influence, because I am trying also with my graffiti to deconstruct and to do it more, I don't know to say primitive, but more not well done, because this mentality of adult people is to do the things perfect and straight lines, and why if you can make drips and move your hand and make it goofy, I don't know.
I always say mistakes are okay, another phrase which I love is the medium is the message. So if you're painting with a brush, I want to see the brush stroke, I don't want it to look like a perfect line, because then why are you using a brush? And the music we were just saying before, the music you're listening to now are the classics.
Classics, yeah, I brought the classics for today.
But this last song we're going to check out is a contemporary classic, I would say.
Yes.
So why have you chosen this one?
I mean, every song from this record of Aphex Twin, I think is a classic. I choose this because it's you will see.
Okay, right. Well, this is Aphex Twin, and we'll come back in a minute. We'll say goodbye and say how people can follow you at home. Sounds of Cornish Acid by Richard D. James, aka Aphex Twin, from his album Aphex Twin. We just gave you a little taster because we wanted to have a little bit of time to put in a track which from a whole genre of music which we haven't even touched on. So this band is called Limp Wrist, and it's a hardcore or punk band with a difference to a lot of other punk bands. These guys were gay, and I suppose this tune, this theme is comes all throughout their the titles on the record. Which one are we going to listen to?
I love hardcore boys.
I love hardcore boys. This has been Limp Wrist. This has been Sprung presenting Zosen. Thanks so much for coming down.
Thanks for the invitation.
Everyone follow Zosen and all the social media, etc. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.